me take. Let me follow up with what you just said. Um, your activities from an early age, I started being very enterprising. Well, then compared to the rest of us, you've reached what I may call the top of the mountain. And now you can guide us as a real guide on this life level. You taught so many people while still in the corporation, and it is certain that it is what you were teaching that enabled you to see the is, the all is. So I particularly am desirous to reach the mountain top too, and I want to know what you did in the interval until you got the rod of purity and you brought out the new sound from the real universes. So, could you give us the blueprint uh, of what you were doing that got you that far? Because I think if we do the same thing, it may lead to the same results, which is the mountain of the Allis. So, Dwayne, if you could outline this blueprint in this interval before you got uh, you wore this mantle. So it is these activities that led you to that level, and so could you pass it over, Dwayne?
Yes, it's very simple, but it's a lot. But again, as I went through this, as I went through my process through the years, etc., and discovering and continually comparing and observing and etc., and with my personal self and with the real awareness and with the invisible side of life, um, I realized that it all came to one basic idea, and that was take the risk. In other words, do something you haven't done before that makes sense with what life is and figuring that out. So there's a lot to figure out, but one of the things that I really saw as I went through the corporation and after the rod of power, etc., I really saw that people did not understand their intent. We have all these words and ideas here, which are fine. They apply to this dimension, but this is it. They don't apply to anything real. And especially even when a person passes over into the astral world, it's a different place. Just like going from one country to another. It's a different language, it's different situations. And so, but for the most part, we carry that personal self because we decide to do that. So, and also what I've discovered is that, which is again this isness. It's so real that um, it, the personal self really cannot comprehend it at all or consider it. It's just too real. And that is that there's no top or bottom or up or down. That's in creation, and those are very limited things. And at first, like Paul, he basically the basic idea was to get people out of their body so they could see that they're more than a body. That was just a basic step, is what he did. And so eventually he called it soul travel. That was the basic idea. Paul was to come first. We had decided this in the real universes with the real guides, to come and take on this challenge. He was to come first. And so then when it was ready, I was to do this and create the next step, however that was going to be, according to how the world would basically come out and be as it is now. And so, yeah, you don't have to look up or anywhere, because it's an isness. It's recognizing this isness, what it is. And this is where the assistance and the guidance comes in, when the individual has the intent to sincerely do that. And This is very important to have that sincerity to, more than anything, to really become more aware and see what life really is, uh, and more so than just the personal life. The personal life will be there. You know, it's kind of like you have a car, all right? So you're the person and you have a car out there. It's in the garage or it's parked on the street. The car is fine, all right? So you don't have to be concerned about that. When you need the car, you go drive it. But you are the real being, the real awareness. And I see this, I've seen this step by step as I become more aware of it. And this is what I present, and that is that it's being to being. And in relationship with your so-called relationships, you know, father, son, grandma, parents, whatever. These are all just labels we put on each other. The birds don't do that. The animals don't do that. They're just very real with each other. People do all these funny things, and then the world gets really funny and strange like it is now, to the point to where people agree to being poisoned and controlled and ruined. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. And yet people are walking around agreeing to it. We don't need technology. We don't need any of these things. It's all nonsense, but we have it because of agreement. So again, focusing on figuring out what this isness is. And your mind, you have to learn to be indifferent to your mind. So it is a risk-taker position, and people look for something that complies with what they've known. Well, what you've known, what you've come through, what history has, displayed and presented itself as, whatever, all the experiences we went through, those are references, something to compare to. If you make them a reality, then they become that. Then you stay stuck in creation. Your choice. Nobody's doing it. You are the decider. That's how real you are, more than the sun shining. So now I see it as I'm like the kid. Really, I am. I have no mantle or title or whatever. I just use the identity of Duane. That's it. I'm fine with that. And so I've said certain things in the book, but that's just part of the adventure. You know, that's all that is. It's just part of the adventure. But getting more real, it's just like I look at children, and they're precious because they're just being themselves, and like the sun shining. That's what we are. We're beings, being to being. So to have that position, just sincerely want to be it. That's all. And it's not in reference to these titles we've known, or if it's guru or master or, nirvana or God realization or self-realization and all these things. These are old identities, or spiritual and all this stuff. All these things have become warped and strange, and they're loaded up with more ideas that are just gobbledygook. They don't reference anything. People think they do. It sounds good, or the Bonnie light, or this light, or the source, and all these things. Well, it's fine. That's not a criticism. But that's not it. Those are ideas and labels that people have. And really, when people look to their gods, they're looking to the label. They don't know who their god is. If they did, they'd run, because the Kalam god and the gods, they're reptilians. These are the authorities that control people, but they disguise themselves is what they do. And it's easy to disguise themselves, like the governments of the world, like the United States government as an example. Oh, they make it look good, don't they? But they're the ones that are destroying the world, them and other governments. But they make it look good, like they're very special and honorable people, etc. And it's not about that. It's a whole challenge to see what's going on, and you decide accordingly. Yeah, so I like it to where it's an isness, because you can let go of all these ideas that you don't need, and just like the sun shining, you just be now, and you learn to recognize every moment what is real. But you got to be the risk taker. You got to want to see what's more real. Or do you keep deciding to just adjust everything to your personal self, so you have a comfort zone, and that's it. Well, again, it's a subtle choice. It's very subtle. And so I took the risk. I always took the risk. I would do what others wouldn't do. And many were given the opportunity, but they wouldn't touch it. And I've seen so many come and go. They go so far. They have a lot of experiences with the boys on the real side, but guess what? The experience is not it. I would tell people, look past the experience. Life is invisible. It's an invisible reality that's so much better, and it's not the spirit idea. Okay, that is basically astral stuff. And the light that people get is usually the astral light, which is knowledge, of course. That's a step. But the real light life is an all aliveness, awareness. It's not about knowledge or wisdom. You see these things. I don't care about knowledge or wisdom. People or others or the Dalai Lama and gurus and masters, they recite these old words and these old sentences. It's nothing. Life does not recognize that. Not at all. It's not interested. It's like the air you breathe. It's not interested in wisdom or air, nor are the birds. They're not interested in wisdom and all these sound good things and these postulates, positive thinking and all that. Fine, do it. We go through these stages, just like when we grow up, we go through certain things. We wear diapers for a while, and we go through school and all this stuff. Whatever, we go through these phases. But eventually, when you really want to see through all of it and be more than just this personal self, well, it's always available. You just have to decide to do it and be it. And then it's endless. Then you walk into an endlessness, you might say, but you don't even walk because it's isness. You don't have to go anywhere. It is. And so as we recognize each other as beings of real light, life itself recognizes that we recognize that. And it is that recognition that's so important. And the intent, where your intent is placed. Does your personal self come first? Guess what? It's disappearing every moment. How long are you going to hang on to it? Again, just like your car out there, you can just keep thinking about, oh, gee, is my car okay? Is it okay? Every day it's getting older. It's depreciating to where it turns to dust. So will the body. So is it worth it to put that much attention into it? Isn't it worth it to put your attention into your real awareness that always is and is all aware? Because the personal self has no awareness except for, what you, the real you, decides. And just like your car, it ain't moving on its own. You got to get in it, you see. So it doesn't have any awareness. You have the awareness. But these are all little choices, and we take them for granted. So we use little stories to make up our life, don't we? Little cute stories. And we've heard stories, and we kind of go along with those things. Well, that's fine, but again, look at the sun shining. Are there any stories there? Are there any beliefs or even happiness? Life is better than any happiness. It's easy to be happy. The challenge is to become more aware and see all. That's the best part. That's the biggest adventure. I like the challenge. The harder it is, the better it is, because you see more. And so this is the galactic adventure I'm doing. It's an impossible challenge, but I'm doing it. But you got to learn to see it. And so again, look at the world. Are you okay with the world? If you are, well, you'll be back. Yeah, and I've seen people come and go, and they shrink back because, again, they only go so far. So you decide how aware you want to be. So again, it's not a mountain anymore. I've referred to those things, but no, it's not that. The isness, like the sun shining, and it always is. It's so cool, this recognition. Yes, and this is all of us. We're all in the same line. So all these little labels and stuff we have here, they're all just funny things that, distract you. And you decide how long you want to be distracted. And the world controllers and the authorities, they create distractions. So you stay here and you are their slave. And it looks like a comfortable lifestyle. But that comfort is fake, it really is. So you take the risk, yes, just like you did. It's a step. You took the risk to walk away from the corporation that was controlling and tap lining you. It looked good, looked comfortable, it looked like, oh gee, Harry will take care of us. You know, he's the spiritual master. We don't have to think or do anything. Harry will take care of us. God will take care of us. The Dalai Lama, the Pope, they'll all take care of us. Yeah. Will they? Well, you decide.